Hi everybody, welcome to Quick Craft Tips with Donna Salazar. Today I'm actually going to show you start to finish this layout. There's a whole bunch of inky painty tips for you this week and I hope that you enjoy them. The inspiration of this layout was my box of scraps from the Family Jeans line. I had a bunch of 6x6 and 12x12 pieces. I didn't even have a full 8x10 piece of the blue wood paper, so I patched it up. I took some of the circles and I painted through them with some white acrylic paint, and I'm painting the back side because I want to use the wood side later on. And then from the 6x6 papers, I also had the circles that I painted through the back side as well. The background I'm painting on is from a manila folder, and after I finish painting the circles, I dry it with a heat gun. And then I spritz it with some water, and I'm using my mixed media inks in Denim and Indigo with my chicken wire stamp. Now I'm using Wisteria and Berries, also my mixed media inks, and then I spritzed it a little bit and you can see it run and kind of get more messy. Now I'm using Smooch Spritz in Sea Breeze and Mixed Berries, and I like to dip a paintbrush into the bottles and splatter it because you can get it like a wider splatter that way. And then I mix it with water to make it runny and then add more splatters. Now I'm adding some of the Mixed Berries Smooch Spritz, and I'm letting it all run and drying it with a heat gun so that'll trap the drips. Once it is completely dry, I'm going to use Crafty power tape to adhere the manila folder background to the patched up wood background. And I'm also going to use Crafty power tape to adhere the photo to the wood paper, the blue wood paper. And I'm cutting it out really loosely because I'm going to use my Distrezz-It-All on the edges of the photo mat. Now I'm using some creative photo corners from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. I love using photo corners on my layouts. It just adds a bit of vintage to them. What I do is I like to pinch the corners in so that it kind of opens up, and that lets me push it all the way onto the photo. And it's just a quick little tip that I've got for you. And then after I get the photo corners on, I like to roll the edges up to make it look more messy and three-dimensional. I'm using the 3D foam squares on the small circles and the easy runner on the big circles, and the larger foam squares for the photo. Now I'm using my mixed media inks in Wisteria and Truffle on the circles. So I'm adding the Wisteria around the edges, and you can see I'm kind of blending in a little bit. I'm not just right on the very edge. I am going over the a little bit of the surface of the circles, so you can see the color coming in a little bit. And I finished coloring all of the circles, but I'm not going to make you watch me do all of them. Then once I was done with the Wisteria, then I went back on just the edge with the truffle just to make those circles stand out, because the layout is it's all in the same colors, so I wanted to make sure that those stood out from the background. So you can see I'm just tapping around the edges of the circles, and I keep putting them back because I have no memory and I will forget where they were, so I can't just do them all at once. So once I place them down, I keep putting them back in the same spot until I'm ready to adhere them. And now I'm using the easy runner to adhere the circles. And I'm going to distress the edges of the little strips with the Distrezz-It-All. And I'm using the easy runner to adhere those paper strips now. and I'll cut the excess off and then use the Distrezz-It-All on the edges to straighten out the edges. So I do that as well on the edges where the circles are. Now I'm doing a shabby color wash by wetting the background and using my mixed media inks and jasmine on an ink blender and just going over it because I wanted to tone the background down a little bit to make the elements show up more. And you'll notice there is a piece of denim and a swirl on there, and I stitched across that to adhere it to the layout, but I can't videotape my sewing machine, so that's what I did. And now I'm adding some Smooch Spritz in mixed berries and trying to capture the drips with the heat gun. For the title, I used some letters, and I used a watercolor pencil around the edges and then a paintbrush with water to kind of add that outline. Then I used my emboss gloss on the top of all of the letters and then sprinkled over some clear embossing powder, tapped off the excess, and then heat set that. And then it made all of the watercolor pencil around the edges set, and it also made my letters shiny. To finish the title, I used a strip of the paper in my vintage Dymo labeler and then used my mixed media inks on the raised letters so that the word would show up, and I adhered that with Crafty power tape. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!